So we're going to start.
Anyway, it's my war effort. I'm giving my best to Hashem.
Baruch Hashem. Welcome, Cody. So welcome, everybody. This is class number 16. We were now well into the first chapter of Shari Yehud with the commentary by Reb Hillel. And for the last two classes, we really did a lot of review. And we showed you a diagram, which I'm going to share with you, where we looked at the whole process. And we could look at it visually to really just get a sense of where we are. And this week, we're going to continue looking at the text and going forward with this process. So I'm just going to share my screen and give you a very brief. Let me see. I'm just want to see if I can annotate this. Okay. Can you see my my arrow?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So basically what we've been learning about in the paragraph prior to the where we're going to go today is we started to look at this process that we call Iyun. And Iyun is down here in the lowest part of the left brain called the Orech of Bina, or the Bina of Bina. And this is where we begin to engage with the text, with an idea. We have a focus. Iyun is really about focus, and it's also about the bitul, meaning I give myself over to the process of being engaged with the text, with trying to understand. The literal meaning of Iyun is like deep analysis, like you start to try to understand the mashalim and the explanations and the text really that we're looking at. And this is what we're doing with this text. We're really in the process of Iyun. And then as you begin to really grasp the information that you're understanding, so slowly you'll move kind of up the left brain to the next level of Bina, which is called the Rochav of Bina. And this is when you begin to think of explanations. It's really how you describe what you're learning to yourself, how you're understanding it, but it's still within yourself. Kind of what you were describing earlier, Miriam, before we turned on the recording, where you can understand this for yourself and it broadens. It does get more, you get more rochav. You see it in different ways. You start to have questions and you're really engaging with the ideas. And this is the rochav of Bina. And then slowly, the more you do this Iyun process, this deep investing of your mind into the letters, and you're trying to really, what are you trying to do? You're trying to find the point inside of it all, because these letters and explanations and mashalim are really just garments that are covering something that we sense. It's much deeper. It's trying to tell us something. We don't know yet what it is. And then finally, we get to the Omek HaMosag, the Omek of Bina. And it's over here. This is, he doesn't say this in this text, but Mila mentioned that this is what's called the 50th gate of Bina. And that's probably a term that many of us have heard. And this is the Omek of Bina is what we're going to look at in more detail today. It's the place where you have the transition between the Bina left brain and the Chochmah right brain. It's where you begin to really sense the internal point. You start to sense the chokhmah that is inside of the bina, that's enclosed in the bina. And that's when Amakas Hadaas kicks in and connects you to the right brain. And then eventually, it'll take you all the way up to the oimik of chokhmah, and you'll have access to the koach hamaskil and be able to bring in new concepts. But right now, we're looking at this Iyun process of the student trying to understand the teaching that has been given to us by the tzaddik, by the Rav, and we're moving slowly up through the process of Bina, of repetition, of trying to broaden it until we get to this transition place of the Oimek HaMusag, the Oimek of Bina, where we have this transition into, like, it's really like a paradigm shift, because you go from left brain suddenly into right brain. And yeah, so today we're going to look with more detail into this process. And so far, I think that it's fairly simple what Iyun is, because it's what we're doing. We're engaging with the letters, we're engaging with the explanations, we're trying to understand something. We sense that there's something deeper in it, or maybe we don't, but we're chasing it because we want it. And so we're either in Bina of Bina, the Orech of Bina, or maybe we've gotten to the place where it seems to have, some rochav in our mind, some width in our mind, where we understanding it and asking questions and thinking about, is it this, is it that, different ways of applying it, what does it mean to me? And then eventually we get to this Oimek of Bina, where there's really a shift. And that's what we're going to look at in some detail today. So, Mila, over to you.
Yeah, welcome everybody. I know we spent 2 weeks really, doing a deeper analysis, and I'm actually very happy to go back to the text, because the letters, they contain the light. And when we're experiencing a particular darkness here and there, when we're like lost, what really works for me is going back to the text. The text is the panas, what they call it, the lamplighter, that shines the light back. So this is what we're going to do now. I just want to dedicate this class in honor of my daughter's birthday. Her name is Chaya Mushka, and she turned 13. So we're having her bar mitzvah. Yeah, she's turning 13 today, and yeah.
Wow.
But it'd be her shnas hatzlacha. Yeah, Chaya Mushka bas mila. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to do the annotation. Okay, great. So we are right here. And
what are the numbers at the top of the page, please?
Sure, it's Kuf Nun Dalet. The page is Kuf Nun Dalet, right here. Okay. Vehina Bechinas Iyun. And this is aspect of Iyun that we are discussing, Kanal. Hu ba le'omek hasvara. That through the Iyun, he comes into the omek of zvara, into the omek of explanation. This is another word that we might add to our vocabulary, right? Because we know about omek hamusag as being omek of bina, but now he's giving us a new term, a new code word, which is hasvara, the explanation. Anikra omek of bina betamtzita, which is called the omek of bina and the essence. V'tekef k'shemizgalim etzloi omek hasvara, and right away when it's revealed by him the omek of the explanation, azayna sis etzlo Amakas Hadaas. Right away he goes into Amakas Hadaas. Okay, so if you remember, we're going to go back to the diagram. everything worked through Amakas Hadaas, right? Amakas Hadaas brings us to Maamik, feeds Amakas Hadaas, and so on and so forth. It's a process of Das knowing the thing itself. But when we are on the outside, we don't have access to that inner current. So the Iyun is like this shuttle that takes us there. The analysis is that that little train that actually, we go on it and it takes us to the Das, the middle line. Okay, so therefore, if you're gonna look at the diagram, the Maamik and Amakas Hadaas is the middle line, and Iyun is on the side. Is when we are literally on the outside, where we don't have access to the inside. What koach, what power we have to be able to go in the inside, to pass through the membranes. Okay, how are we getting inside and master our own consciousness? Okay, so that's the process. Meaning, from Iyun, once the Iyun will get us to the 50th gate of Bina, to the Omek HaMusak, that's it. We are inside already. We already know we can navigate the Das part. And that's what it says over here. Na'asis etzlo Amakas Hadaas. He has access to Amakas Hadaas, which is what? Shehu hakivutz mikol koach sichloi. That this is the gathering, the focus of all his powers of his intellect, his mind. Now, since he has already the revelation of Omek HaMusak, he's able to now connect to it. To connect to the Omek HaMusak canal, as it was explained above. When he is yet above, Muchlal is like kind of like removed from the Hasaga, meaning he's able to see the concept in its pure state. Aniglis, right? The Hasaga Aniglis. It's not yet revealed, meaning he's able to now see it from a Chachma perspective. Before it was revealed to his Keli, to kind of, because you see, it's very important that the paradigm shift takes place in Chachma. Why is it? What is paradigm? Paradigm is my set of reality based on how my brain is shaped. Okay, how I censor reality around me, right? How I understand things, how my brain processes information, right? That's my Bina part. Okay, so anything around me that I study, it goes through my prism of reality. Okay, beautiful. I could stay like this to the rest of my life. It wouldn't bother anybody but me. But let's say if a person wants to let go, wants to adapt a new way of thinking, meaning wants to change its own paradigms, what's going to happen? He needs to go into the Iyun process. What ends up happening is after the Iyun process, after he's able to see whatever concept he's concentrating on, right? Which is reaching beyond his own understanding, okay? And he actually travels to the chachma of it, to the point, to the purest state of the concept, not the way he relates to it, but the way the concept is on its own, right? That's where the paradigm shift takes place. Okay, he's able to transcend his own kalim, his own way of thinking. Okay, and what happens at that point? At that point, he's able to create a new kalim within himself, a new perspective that he can actually adapt. Okay, and so now that's what happens. Okay, but Orach, before it actually goes into Orach and Rochav, because that Orach and Rochav is going to be subjective, and he's able to actually adapt to the objective truth of it. Aval al yedei ha'iyun, but through the Iyun, lo barak le'omek ha'melubash b'hasaga. I think we are really talking about very high concepts here. I don't know if you have my background. my kids are engaging into interesting, very high vocal discussions. So we're going to continue for a few more minutes, see how things are going to play out. Okay. If you could just give me a minute, I would really appreciate it. Yeah, Neria, you want to just
While we're waiting for Mila to just quiet down her kids, I'll just tell you the 2 points that we've covered so far. So the in-depth analysis, the Iyun, brings a person to the depth of the explanation, known as the Omek of Bina, the Tamtsita, and its inner point. Then the Amakas Hadaas is activated. So once you're in the 50th gate, you've come to this highest point of Bina, the Amakas Hadaas, which connects the left and right brain, the Bina and the Chokhmah, that is activated. What is the Amakas Hadaas? He gives us another definition. This is the focus of all the powers of the person's mind to connect to the depth of the idea, to the Omek HaMusag. And this connection transcends the revealed comprehension in the Orech and Rochav. What I understand from that is that once the Amakas Hadaas is activated, this is where we have the paradigm shift. Up until now, the Iyun has come up through the Orech and Rochav of Bina, and the person has understood it based on that. And now with the Amakas Hadaas being activated, you're going to get a higher understanding that you got previously just from those 2 levels of Bina. Okay. And then in the parenthesis, and then we'll go back, it says that through Iyun, he only reaches the depth that is enclosed in the explanation of the Orach and Rochav. So the Iyun takes him to a certain place, and then once the Amakas Hadaas kicks in, the person is going to get a much deeper understanding than he had previously. That's where Mila's talking about like a paradigm shift. It's going to be almost something completely different, even though it's the same concept, because you start to get the inner point of it, not just the explanations and the words, and you're starting to touch the very essence. Okay. Back to you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay. About al yidei ha'iyun, but through iyun, lo ba rak le'omek hamelubash b'hasaga, the orach v'rochav. But through iyun, he comes only to the omek, right, which is enclosed in the hasaga of the orach and rochav. Meaning, iyun takes them as to the way it is enclosed, and through connecting, but Amakas Hadaas allows to really go to its pure state, right? And this is, an important detail. Okay, let's move on. Okay, Amakas Hadaas, he mevio lebechinas etzem ha'chochma. But Amakas Hadaas is going to bring him to the essence of the chochma, not the way it's enclosed, but the way it is. Lihiyois be'omek hamusag, because in the Omek HaMusag, Shehu Mechubar, Mechaber Chochma B'Bina, right? Because Omek HaMusag is what connects Chochma with Bina, with this Bina. Yochel al Yedei Zeh limtzo zvares chadoshes lahalbish bahem haskola. What he is able to find new explanations to enclose in it the haskola, this concept. Meaning, once he's able to reach to the essence of the concept, then he's able to put new garments. For example, to teach it to, a 2-year-old kid, a kid who likes cars, bring out, meaning he has that flexibility to give as many explanations as possible for that concept without the limitations of the explanations that he originally received. Okay? Ki haskala hu koach hayuli. Why is that? Because the haskala is the potential, koach hayuli. Again, we're going back into this, interesting terminology here, right? Because this is the power of hayuli, and hayuli is the potential, meaning it's undefined yet. So compared to bina, chachma is koach hayuli, and compared to chachma, koach hamaskil is hayuli, right? So yuli is that, less defined, terminology, like gabe hasvara, compared to the explanation of the bina. Ad shemisechel echad yacholim tu ribo izvaris. What do you mean? What's yuli about it? That from one seichel, he's able to find many different explanations. Okay, so that's the yuli about it. Meaning, I received the seichel through one explanation, and I dig deeper and deeper and deeper through 49 gates of my understanding, consciously or subconsciously, it doesn't matter, right? But we all go through this process. And then one day, boom, I have the Omek HaMusik. That Omek HaMusik allows me to see the concept in its purest state, without strings attached. And then I'm able to explain it to self and to others, the same concept, but through different ways of explaining it. Meaning I have access to the concept itself, the mastery of the concept. So I could explain it to other people and to myself through other means of explanation, whatever that may be. Okay. Okay, just gonna go up a little bit. We are right here. V'od zois yigia al yidei Amakas Hadaas lebchinas omek hachochma. V'od and more. That through this yigia, through this, the person will come through the Amakas Hadaas to the essence of Chochma now, not essence of Bina, but now to the Omek of Chochma, Shehu HaChibur, which is the connection of the Chochma with Lemala Mina Chochma. That's now not only that we are connecting Bina and Chochma, but now we're connecting Chochma with something which is higher than a Chochma. This is the Chibur of the Chochma with something which is above the Chochma, which is what? What is it?
Koach hamaskil.
Amazing. Yes. Until he's able to awaken his koach hamaskil, the haskil haskolis chadashes, to conceptualize new concepts, ve'ein shi'ur, in an unlimited way. Okay, once a person reaches that level, which is what? It's the level of Maamik. Okay, so he's able to awaken his koach hamaskil to conceptualize new concepts from that one concept that he began the journey with. And from this lower concept that he received, shekibel mirabai, that he received from his Rav, yochel lahasik haskolis gavohes mimena. He's able to conceptualize even higher concept from it. Be'ilui achar ilui. Okay, higher and higher. And this aspect is called Maamik, Lashon Maf'il, which is the Lashon of activator. He's activating. La'omek Chachma Bina, the activating of the depth of Chachma Bina. Ki mebchinas koach hamaskil, because from the aspect of koach hamaskil, yochol lahaskil haskolis chadashes, vegam lahasik hasogis chadashes. That once he has access to koach hamaskil, from koach hamaskil, he's able to conceptualize new concepts and also to understand and to grasp new understandings. Why is it? We already discussed because both Chochma and Bina are rooted in koach hamaskil. Okay, canal, as it was explained above. Okay, v'nimtza, and we find sheyesh ba'mekabel kol gimel madregas, that mekabel, to begin with, has the 3 levels, canal, as it was explained above. Matchila mibchinas Iyun, he begins with the level of Iyun, ve'achar kach b'chinas Amakas Hadaas, and then the level of Amakas Hadaas, ve'achar kach ba lebchinas Maamik, and afterwards he comes to the level of Maamik, shu b'chinas hayoser el yoyna hanal. This is the highest level, which we discussed above. V'kol ze ba'etzlo milamata lemala, and all these things, all these levels, they come to him from below to above, down, up. Okay, that's by Makabel. That's, what we shaykh to. Masha'inki, but it's not like that. It's El Haraf, by Rav. Hamam tzisechel mitzad atzmai, that he generates intellect from within himself. Eino shayach rak beis madreges. He's only able to access 2 levels, which is what? The Maamik, and Amakas Hadaas. Ve'ena shayach b'chinas Iyun, and he doesn't have shaychus to Iyun. Now, as it was explained above. Why? Kimikivan shenigmar etzlo klalus haseichel b'shlemusay, because the concept already completed by him in its fullest form, im kol pirtei zvarasay v'levushav, with all the details of the explanation and enclothement, b'mashalim, in the mashalim, shainim, different mashalim, eino tzarich le'iyun, he is not required iyun. Why? Because iyun is when you're outside, and you need tools to get inside. But he's inside. He's from within himself generating the mashalim. So he doesn't need Iyun. What is he going to do Iyun on? Ki etzla, because by him, muskalu musak haseichel v'hasvara, okay, kmo shehu bilti levushim klal, because he lechatchila has access to the seichel, to the concept, and to the levushim, and to the understanding, and explanations without the levushim, meaning he sees the concept in its naked form, in its original purest form. So he doesn't need to do Iyun. Iyun is when you don't see the concept in its purest form, and you need to unwrap it. But here, he doesn't have that problem. He's the one who generated it. Okay, v'halevushim himti, and why he has the levushim? He encloses them in levushim. Why is it letzorich hamekabel? Only for the mekabel bilvad. He, for himself, he doesn't have a problem with levushim. He understands the concept the way it is. He doesn't need to enclose it in a mashal. He only enclosing it in a mashal for others to understand, for the mekablim. And therefore, he doesn't need to go deep in the ICS. He's the one who generated the ICS. He's not going to sit by himself and read his own essay and say, why did I ask that question? Yeah, that's going to look very strange, right? He's the one who wrote it. So he's not going to do Iyun the way we do it right now. I mean, Reb Hillel, imagine Reb Hillel reading his own work and thinking like, oh, that's genius. This is amazing. Let me go deeper into it. It's going to look very strange, right? So that's why he doesn't need to do this. And Levushim Lehamtzi, to find that Shehemti, I'm sorry, the one that he generated. Okay, because this is Iyun, right? Why? Because truly what happens by him, when he goes deeper into the concept, the words and the ICS come out automatically by him. Okay, it's an automated process by him. Why? Because Amakas Hadaas, through Amakas Hadaas, in the essence, when he does Amakas Hadaas, the mashalim just pour. And we all probably experience that when we, somebody asks us a question, and all of a sudden, like, we just connect back to the concept, and the word just starts coming out. right? That's Amakas Hadaas, meaning we know something so well, and it's so obvious to us that just by a second, just connecting back to the concept, we already know what to say. Yeah, we don't, it's not like this, oh, what should I say? Or maybe I should enclose it into this. Maybe I should, it's not that process. It's just by connecting, it comes out. How it is understood to everyone, and enough with this. These are the words, enough. We explained it well enough. So this is the piece for today. And he pretty much narrows down the process by the mashpia and by the mekabel, and then the process by the mashpia. What we're taking from it is that mekabel has access to all three levels, and at this moment, he tells that mashpia has access to two levels only, right? And the third level happens to him automatically. Okay. Now I'm going to surprise you that in the next paragraph, he's going to knock down that concept. And he's going to explain us how also by the Rav, there is an aspect of Iyun. But he's going to explain it a little bit differently. And we need to wait a little bit. We also established that, yeah, that would be for now. And then, next week, B'ezrat Hashem, we're gonna uncover this beautiful, beautiful level, which is called Uvanta de Liba, which is an understanding of the heart, and what that really means. And the main question would be, at the moment, is what is that unique power of Iyun that has, to begin with, such an access to Amakas Hadaas? This is intense, right? We're talking about for people who are on the outside, they don't have access to the inside and all these things. And how in the world person who is on the outside, even if he takes that shuttle, what that shuttle is about? What is it about Iyun that's so special that allows a person to become a mashpia, basically? That's what he's saying. And this is phenomenal because next week we're gonna discover that level. What is it, and where it's rooted, and how come that through Iyun a person is able to reach the level of Maamik. And have das into things. And das is a phenomenal thing, as we learned with Sarah, right? we trying to the Tuesday class about how to become rich. Yeah, we are on our pursuit. I'll tell you when I'm going to get my first million. And and there it talks about the das of being hakara and hargasha. It's an awareness and feeling and sensing. And yeah, das is like, I don't know how people could live without das, right? Das is like the thing, the activator. It's like the main ingredient of all the spheres. Like without das, the life is like so shallow and boring.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the sake of testing your patience.
Yeah, I can't hear you well. What is that?
For the sake of testing your patience. You said the mekabel has access to 3 levels. Okay. The 3 levels being in the domain of the art, or what? Or orech and
No, he has, exactly. So you know what? Let me just share the diagram with you again, right? And we're just gonna go back to it. I'm sorry, I'm just doing my other diagram. Okay, so here we go. This is Iyun. Let me just annotate for a second. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so it's the Amakas Musag and the Rachav.
Exactly. This is the Iyun. Exactly. This is where we begin, right? Meaning we begin actually right here in this left brain. This is where we begin. Yeah, we are not in the middle line. Left is not middle. That's, yeah. This is kindergarten, right? Left is there. Right is here and the middle is here. That's it. And left is not middle. So we begin generating our process right here, okay, in Iyun, and probably like right here. This is Orach of Bina. Okay, so we're like, generating here. Now, how in the world we're going to reach Amakas Hadaas? Das is the middle line right here. Okay, all this is Das, is connecting right and left, connecting up and down, right? What do I mean up and down? Koach HaMaskil that dwells in this lachluchis, right? Of the krumius hamakifim legimel moichin, right? The membranes that surround the three brains. It's right here. That's the oldest wetness, beautiful thing, right? This is our fountain of knowledge. That's where it's coming from. And it connects, make sure that Chachma gets it, and the Bina gets it, and he connects all this middle line. There are 2 Das Elyons, 1 Das Tachton, and everything that's going to channel through the spinal cord to our heart, and all this, beautiful things. And Iyun is right here. Iyun is not inside. This is the inner current. Das is the inner current. So the Iyun is the shuttle that helps people go back into Amakas Hadaas track. Because Amakas Hadaas is by connecting to it, we get to the purest form of the intellect, the purest form of the essence. Okay, without our own distorted kalim. And why I'm using it distorted? Because no matter how pure our kalim is, we're always going to distort things through our self understanding, how we see things. Okay, so we want to transcend our own understanding so we can actually see what is this about. Because if we only perceive things through our own lenses, we can't really do much. It's boring. The life is boring. And not to you, to me, it's boring. How much can you be engaged with self? I want to see God's perspective, right? I need explanations. And how am I going to do that? Yeah.
Can you give an example? Can you think of an example, or maybe anybody here, of that experience of shifting from the left brain to the right brain, where you suddenly get something different, where you get a different insight, completely different insight. You're not in the realm of explanation, you're in the realm of the thing itself.
If I may, I could give an example from somebody I know.
Okay.
If that is okay that I'm jumping in.
Let's hear.
So I have a very good friend who is married to a rabbi. And the rabbi would sometimes say at the table things that I wouldn't understand. It would seem like, what is he exactly saying? But she's very, very, very wise. So she goes to understand his deeper idea. And then she says it in her own words. And all of a sudden, everybody understands what he meant. So it's just a side. I don't know.
That's a beautiful Chachma Bina dance, right?
What? I'm sorry?
It's a beautiful Chachma Bina dance.
Oh, yeah. It's also with Iyun because she's going to his depth of his understanding. And I always tell her that how brilliant she is with doing it. It's my 2 cents. I'm just sorry.
But, it's interesting. The second chapter, if I could, increase your salivation process for the second, course that we B'ezrat Hashem going to do with Nari after we finish the first chapter. And this is the second chapter. The second chapter, the Rebbe talks about this person, a Navon, right? He goes into this whole thing of understanding, besides how Bina brings us to all these loftier levels, which is the first chapter, is describing the whole process up. Then the second chapter is going to be talking the whole process down. How Bina actually brings us down. Because remember, the Koach, the light of Hashem travels to 2 directions at the same time. So the deeper we go into the concept, we don't become, malachim. We don't stop existing. On the contrary, the deeper we go into the concept, the more we see godly expression on in our external environment. That's just how Hashem created it, right? So, you know, we start loving Hashem more and experiencing deeper emotions towards, you know, everything else around us. We just right now we are freezing the process and viewing it only down up, only how we go deeper. Now, the second chapter, he's going to say the Mimela effect, the effect that automatically going to happen in a lower, meaning Bina down. And over there, he talks about this, the water carrier, right? The one that goes with the bucket, you know, goes deep inside, you know, takes Maim Amukim and takes it out for other people to drink. So that's your hostess. That's what she's doing, right? She's traveling back to her husband's mind, with a bucket, takes it out, and makes everybody drink.
Yeah.
So Sarah also asks here on the chat, this may be a basic question, but does he instruct us how to do Iyun?
I think he is. He's forcing us to do it. He's not just teaching us what Iyun is. He's forcing us to do the Iyun. You know, we are doing Iyun as we're moving along. We may not be aware of it, but he's schlepping us into the process of Iyun. Right.
Because in a sense, look, in the previous paragraph, I can just share the summary. He actually says what Iyun is. It's one place where he does say this is what you need to do. So let me just share that with you.
יש אזעקה בצפת, יש אזעקה.
Oh, wow.
I know that, I know.
Just see what's going on.
We should say a prayer of healing for her, for you, for all of us, our body.
Wow.
What is this? Is Azaka?
Azaka, yeah. It's Azaka in Tzfat.
אזעקה, booms. Okay, by your side, you don't need to hear this. You don't need to hear this. I'll take on.
Wow.
I want to go out. I want to go out. I don't know how to go out. What of this? I want to turn it off. I can't turn it off. I'm trying.
Alkaleo, you're okay? All right. Zat Hashem. This is life in Israel. Welcome to Israel. Yeah, I'm going to continue. So in the previous paragraph, Sarah, he spoke about the definition of what is Iyun. And by describing what Iyun is, he's telling us how to do it. So he says here, Iyun is focus or concentration, kibbutz, and the nullification, the bitul, of the tangible yesh to the intangible ayin. Okay, so we don't know what that means. So he says, okay, what does this mean? It means that a person invests his mind in the letters, which are a yesh, and exerts himself to search for and find the ayin that is enclosed in the letters, meaning what is behind the letters. The letters are levushim that are trying to bring us a deeper message. So you have to invest your mind, first of all, in the letters, and there's a process of bitul in that. You give yourself over to the process, and there's an exertion, yigia, and here it's with the mem, where you have to activate the the Yigir, to search for and to find. So he says it in very specific words, but this is what we're trying to do. And the iron that is clothed in the letters is called the Tamsita Shamhasvara, the inner point of the explanation. And this is the iron of the yesh of Bina. So Bina is a yesh, but we're looking for the iron, which is like the chokhmah that is inside of the Bina. And the place where we begin to access this ayin of the yesh of Bina is in the omek of Bina, the omek hamosag. So what happens in the early stages of the Iyun for the student? Okay, so Iyun is appropriate for the student who hears a teaching from his teacher. At first, he only accesses the external aspect of the seichel, which is the seichel as it is enclosed in explanations and mashalim, which the teacher produced in order to enclose the essence of the explanation. And that's the orech of the Rav. And that's the place where the student begins to engage. The teacher has brought it all the way down to the orech of Bina. Therefore, when the pupil wishes to reach the depth of the omek of the explanation, he has to begin with Iyun, which is the yigir, the toil and the effort to find the omek that is in them, the depth that is in them. This Iyun is also called the Bina of the Makabel. And that's where he talks about the Bina of the Bina, the Orech of Bina. There's a meeting of the teacher and the pupil, because the teacher has brought it all the way down to the Orech of Bina, and that's where the student begins to kind of work upwards. So there's a descent and an ascent. And he goes into more detail what that means with the two nuns. The one nun, the nun kfufel, the bent nun, is the bitul of receiving, and the long nun, the lange nun, is the drawing it down, bringing something down like the length, the orech of the river. So in this previous paragraph, which we read 3 weeks ago, he does describe to some extent this process of Iyun. And if you look at it slowly and in detail, you see he's giving you words: kivutz, concentration, bitul, nullification, investing his mind. He literally uses the word like that you like put your mind, enclose your mind in these letters, in the yesh, and the sigir keeps coming up. And it's the searching, not only to search, but to find that the chokhmah within the bina. So, okay. So that was the previous paragraph. And so does that clarify it a little bit more?
Yes, thank you.
All right. And as Mila was saying, what we see is that in order to understand this text, we have to do the Iyun. He's really, in some ways, sometimes I feel like he will take something that's kind of simple and he'll describe it like this, just to get us to do the Iyun, to break our brains a little bit and to force us to really get into the letters, as it were, like the words, and engage. He doesn't make it easy. I mean, I don't know if that's on purpose, but there is a sense that he's forcing us to do the Iyun in order to engage our brains. Like, you can't read one of these paragraphs, or I certainly can't, without not really engaging. It's not a quick read. And so he's really teaching us about Iyun and making us do the Iyun. And that's what I think.
Can I add something at one point?
Kitty, I see you smiling very widely there. Yes.
The last thing you said was like the cherry on top, because as you're reading that paragraph, and I remember when you originally learned it also, it was like a certain experience that I had once. I had to prepare for a share in 770. I didn't have time to go into it. And finally, Friday night, after my guests left, and I was so tired, and I had to prepare, and I knew what was my favorite sikha, my favorite point, but I realized the point is so short. This is not a full thing. So I'm looking and looking and staring and tired. My mind is off. But what you said is I was forced. So that's the point is it's not just you want to learn something. You're in a situation where you have an extreme, intense compulsion. I have to produce. And so I'm sitting there and I was in a state of Iyun. I said, I don't know, I see pages. I never knew there was a whole extension to this idea. And I'm looking at it and I'm blank. And I said, Hashem, help me. I'm sitting here and staring in a state of Iyun, and my mind is blank, and I don't know what I'm going to do with this information. What is this information? Now, what does it mean? Rebbe could sometimes be very deep, sometimes, but not just sometimes. And then all of a sudden, a treasure chest opened. It was magnificent what I discovered there. I never knew this existed. It was magnificent. I ended up writing it up. And it's an article on Chabad.org about Yosef and 3 stages from Yaakov and Yosef and Ephraim and Menashe, and the whole thing, and showing how all the parable of how analogy to how the Rebbe is not here. It was something stunning, something so stunning. And
send us some links.
What's that?
Send us the links for the.
I'll find it
whenever you have a chance. Yeah.
I'm in California now, but that's a show when I get back home. So it was really that came to life. This whole idea is like I lived it on a small scale, and there's no question that it's just a foretaste.
Right. So it sounds like you're also describing that moment where you kind of go from into the right brain, where you just see the whole picture. At first, it feels so hard, and you just stayed with it, with that Iyun process, and when you say that you're in a state of Iyun, that's kind of like the Omek, where you just bitul, you give yourself over, and then something comes, you start to feel what's behind the letters. You go beyond the letters. It sounds like that's what happened, and then you saw something like you say, a treasure chest. And it's a complete, what we're calling a paradigm shift, where suddenly you see something that was there in plain sight, but until you do put in the effort and the gear and really get to know it well and sit and stare at it, there's no way that you can get to that level of understanding. So yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful explanation. Mila, should I share the summary of the paragraph that you read, just for clarity?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Hopefully it's clarifying. So we went a little bit through the previous paragraph. So this is the paragraph that we read today. So we said that the Iyun, the in-depth analysis, brings a person to the depth of the explanation, known as the Omek of Bina, and its inner point, Tamtzita. I have a question here, Mila, that I'd like to ask you. When we talk about the Omek of Bina and its inner point, this is a term that has been used a few times in the last few paragraphs. Is that the same as saying the chokhmah that is inside of the bina? Is that the tamtzita?
He talks it because omek, remember the definition of omek, it's not an entity on its own. And we need to understand there's no space inside of Hishtalshus called omek. So like, in omek hamusag, a concept looks different than in rochav of chokhmah. Meaning, when we're talking about Omek HaMusag, a person is already in a Chachma.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Rachav of Chachma. That's why he used the inner point, and its inner point.
So the Tamtzita is the Chachma inside the Bina. that he's starting to feel?
It's already outside of Bina, because the way it's in the Bina, that's Rochav of Bina. Tamtzita is already the way
Already.
Chachma.
Okay.
Yes. Omek HaMusag. Although he makes a little diuk later on that discusses that there's two stages. The way he comes to Omek HaMusag, while it's still enclosed in his perception,
Right.
and then through Amakas Hadaas, he reaches its purest form. That transition, that
So-
he's able to reach, he makes it later, like a few lines down,
Right.
I think he
Yes,
makes
yes,
that
yeah.
distinction.
Okay, so the person, you reach the 50th gate of Bina, which is the Oimek of Bina, and its inner point, the Tamsita, and then Amakas Hadaas is activated. What is Amakas Hadaas? This is the focus of all the powers of his mind to connect to the depth of the idea, the Oimek HaMusag. This connection transcends or is higher than the revealed comprehension in the Orech and Rochav. Then in parentheses, he says, through Iyun, he only reaches the depth that is enclosed in the explanation of the Orech and Rochav. Okay, so now we're back to the Amakas Hadaas. The Amakas Hadaas brings him to the essence of Chokhmah that is enclosed in the Oimek HaMusag. Amakas Hadaas creates the bond between Chokhmah and Bina, and he is now able to discover new explanations with which to enclose this intellectual concept. So, Mila, is he saying here that the moment the Amakas Hadaas is activated, that you can then you then connected to the essence of the Chokhmah, so you can bring in new explanations because you now understand the essence of the concept. You don't have to stay with the Iyun process of just understanding the explanations of the rabbi, of the Rav.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's why he says in brackets here, how is it that you can discover new explanations with which to enclose the intellectual concept? It's because the intellectual concept is the power of Hiyuli relative to the explanation of Bina. So for one concept, you can find many explanations. So the way that I understand that is that once you get to the concept itself, like to the essence of it, now there are many ways that you could explain it. There are many mashalim that you could bring down. So that's why at that point, that's what it means. It's the power of Yuli. I mean, there's not only one way to explain this concept. Okay. So then the Amakas Hadaas then brings him to the Oimek of Chokhmah, which is the connection of Chokhmah to that which is above Chokhmah. Then he is able to awaken the Koch HaMaskil to conceptualize new concepts without limit. I hope you don't mind that I'm asking Mila questions as we go, but I have a question here. He takes us from the Oimek of Bina and Amakas Hadaas straight to the Oimek of Chokhmah. What about the Orech and Rochav of Chokhmah? Don't you go up through Chokhmah, or is he just kind of doing a shortcut here?
Because Omek of Chokhmah, he's taking a shortcut, because Omek of Chokhmah is actually the way Bina was understanding it. Because remember, when Chokhmah communicates through its Orech, it communicates to Bina. By Bina being already in Omek HaMusag, she already got it. Now she wants the Rochav of Chokhmah in its purest state. She gets it through Amakas Hadaas, so that's it. Like she's in her shift already.
But he doesn't mention the Rochav or the Orech here of
He doesn't
Chokhmah.
need to mention. When he says Omek HaMusag, that's by definition, if we understood what Omek is, it's not entity on its own. That's already Rochav of Chokhmah. He doesn't make that clear enough, but if we understood the concept of Omek properly, so then that's what it is.
Okay. So here we're already in the Oimek of Chokhmah which is the connection of Chokhmah to that which is above Chokhmah, and then he is able to awaken the Koach HaMaskil to conceptualize new concepts without limit. So, from the limited or lowered concepts that he received from his teacher, he can grasp concepts that are higher than it in successive levels of elevation. Which means that that's because if he can go to the level of the Koach HaMaskil, he can bring down new concepts, which means that by climbing up through the concept that he was given, but that was given to him by his Rav, he can now access other concepts from the Koach HaMaskil, if he can go all the way to that level. Okay, so next, this process of connecting to the Koach HaMaskil and bringing out new concepts, this is called Maamik, which is grammatically in the active tense, because he actively engages in bringing out the Omek of Chokhmah and Bina. So from the Koach HaMaskil, he is then able to conceptualize new concepts and also grasp new understandings, as it was mentioned before, that both Chokhmah and Bina are rooted in Koach HaMaskil. So we find that the Makabel experiences all three levels, beginning with the level of Iyun, then going higher to Amakas Hadaas, and then Maamik, which is the highest. This process is from below to above. But from the perspective of the teacher, the Mashpia, who produces the teaching from within himself, there are only two levels, Amakas Hadaas and Maamik. He does not require Iyun, since he already has a complete grasp of the entire subject, including all its explanations and analogies, so he is able to grasp the idea as it is, without any garments at all. The only reason he produces the garments is because they are necessary for the Makabel. So he doesn't need to delve into the letters and garments that he produced. In other words, do Iyun, because the garments and letters arise in him automatically due to his Amakas Hadaas into the depth of the concept, into the oimek of the concept, and the oimek of the comprehension, the oimek of Bina. That means basically the oimek of Chokhmah and the oimek of Bina. So that's the process of the Rav, is he doesn't need to do Iyun, because he's going from Maamik to Amakas Hadaas. He doesn't need the process of analysis and trying to take the garments off to get the concept itself, because he already has the concept. He's starting off with the concept.
But isn't there an analysis of what he has to choose to say?
Yeah. So that's what he's going to say next week, is that in order to measure the light for the vessel, meaning how to say it to the pupil, like which garments to choose, and then he's going to have to there is going to be a process of Iyun, but it's not the same process that the Makabel goes through, but it is a kind of an Iyun process. You're absolutely right, Cody.
I had to go because there was a red alert. I don't know if you heard it.
Yeah, we
did
did.
you hit the alert?
Yeah, we saw.
The siren, is the siren, yeah.
Yeah, Al-Khaleh went down.
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I really was trying to turn my phone off. I was more nervous about you guys hearing this than I was about the. I was like,
Mm.
I'm sorry, I didn't turn it off fast enough.
We were concerned about you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to go into breakout groups, but what are we going to do in the breakout group, Mila?
I guess if we could just teach each other what we just heard, would be amazing.
So you know, the summary is available on the Google Drive. If you want to read the summary, it's the last 2 pages of the summary. And I think I put it on the WhatsApp group as well. So you can read through the summary together and try and clarify what is this process of Iyun, And what is, how is it for the Rav and how is it for the Makabel? Okay, there are 10 people who need to go into groups.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'll be able to last the breakout room. I'll have to count out. I have to go see what's doing here where I'm staying.
Okay, so
Thank
we'll do
you.
9. And thanks
So I
for
guess we're
joining.
going to do 2 breakout rooms, and this way it'll be a little bit. We'll do 3. Okay. Yeah, but please take this. It's very important to actually express the process and discuss it among yourself, because the more words you're going to put into it, the more you're going to activate the intellect to really reflect. So it's very important. Okay, Hatzlacha, we'll see you in about 10 minutes.
Here's Sipi not joining. Shosh. Shosh, you don't want to be joining? Okay. Okay, so some feedback. Sarah, would you like to start? Just, was it easy? Was it hard? What was going on? What were you able to talk about? Do you have questions? You're muted. You're muted.
You're asking me to talk. So I'm saying when I'm a passive learner, I think I know everything. I understand everything perfect. When I try to go to understand it, I say, oh, what is this concept? What is this concept? It really requires to review and to do Iyun in it. So this is my my feedback. So we were going through the text. We actually wanted, I personally wanted also to link it with the Hebrew. So I found out that we need to clarify a little bit, a few points, I know this was a question that you asked, why is he saying, Omek HaMusag? So just like that, it leaves a lot of room to review.
Yeah.
For me.
Look, you have an advantage over almost all of us here, in that Hebrew is your first language.
Yeah.
If I understand correctly. So the text itself is it's so much easier to learn it from the Hebrew text, to do the Iyun in the Hebrew text than in the English, because he's so very precise. And it's like a puzzle. He's using the same words over and over again, and so it's easier for you to do that process of Iyun. But yeah. Okay. Who were you with? You were with Yoni?
Yoni, with Yoni.
Yoni, speak
I
to
would
us.
like to add what you were saying. On language is very important, but with the language comes an understanding of the principles. And unless a person really understands what the principle means, it's not necessarily, there's not necessarily automatic understanding. And the principles that we're learning right now is like the word society. And even though you understand what the word society means, it has so much meaning to it. So even though the language might be there, there's so much more to really understanding the subject matter.
Of course, of course. And I would add even that sometimes when you learn something in Hebrew and you hear somebody tell it to you in English, all of a sudden it has another angle that you didn't see before.
So interesting you're bringing this up, but I like to learn Chassidus in 3 languages.
Wow.
A little anything that I could find, even stories.
Right.
You know, like I want to read it, you know, in Lashon HaKodesh. I want to hear it in English and I want to hear it in Russian. I just need that 3 languages, and then all of a sudden, like it's like a whole new dimension that opens up, because the use of words, the meaning of words that we, you know, put in the you know, it just, you know, definitely gives a whole sense of new depth to it. Yeah, I totally agree with that. So
And Yoni, would you like to give us some feedback?
So Baruch Hashem, Sarah explained the first concept in the explanation to me very well, so I understand that better. I keep getting lost in all the terms, and I just like completely lost. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that, but I also keep getting lost in learning, because I'm trying to follow in the Hebrew and write down the meanings. And then unless I review it, which I don't always have time for, then I'm stuck where I was, with like I'm still in the same place. But I have reviewed a bit, so.
Do you think that the image that we created last week can help to clarify the confusion around the terms, so that you can see it, not just have to see the words, but to see the image of it?
You mean the brain, the picture of the brain? That was very good. I actually find reading notes makes my mind just start, like, switch off.
well, welcome to the club, Yoni. Like once I see the text, my mind is like, okay, this is not for me. Yeah, the images. Okay, good. So I guess, you know, the right brain dominance. That's
But the process of the Iyun is, like it says, to invest your mind in the letters, and it's literally and he also says that it's bitul, and I think it's getting beyond that place of resistance of saying it's like the Baal Shem Tov says there are 3 stages in any creative process. The first one is the hachna'ah, which is the bitul, like letting yourself engage in it, like giving yourself over to the process, getting over that resistance of this is too hard or procrastinating or whatever. It's that immersion. And then once you're inside that process of immersion, then you do the havdalah, you know, like you're working through it, you're doing birur, this, I understand this, you know, you're like basically in the Iyun process. And then you have the hamtakah, you have the sweetening. But if we don't get past that initial thing of, and we all have it, I don't know anybody who doesn't. Actually, I do know a few people who don't, but they're very special. You know, you look at the page, whether it's in English or in Hebrew, and it's like, oh, this is too hard. But the Iyun starts with focus and bitul, like giving yourself over to the process.
I have a question. So I think that my understanding was a little bit off. I was thinking that, and I might be completely off, that bitul, I have to put away my preconceived understanding. And this is not at all what you're saying. So, and it's easier for me to accept what you're saying than what I thought, because I put away everything that I know in order to get something new. It didn't sit good with me. But you're saying no, you're just saying, put yourself into it, you know, just start working on it.
It's both. So
yeah.
It's
No, look, bitul is a hard word to define. I'm really defining it in terms of my own experience, and there are many shades of bitul. In another place in the text, he talks about in order to receive something from the teacher, you need the two stages of bitul and shimamon, which is that place of, okay, the bitul there, I understand it is, I'm here to receive, I'm engaged. And the shimamon is putting aside what I know up until now about the subject. It's kind of emptying yourself in order to receive something new. And Mila shared with us that story of the Rebbe Rashab giving over a mimer, and the person, he couldn't because the person was not fully, the person was having his own thoughts as the Rebbe Rashab was giving over the mimer, and so there wasn't somebody to fully receive it. So, you know, if I'm learning about Chochmah and I already think, you know, I know what Chochmah is, then I can't hear what the teacher is saying. I can't learn anything new. So there were those two stages of bitul and shimamon, and the shimamon is what you said you find difficult to understand, like, but for that moment you have to put it aside. Like,
Well, thank you.
understand something new, I have to, you know, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So I heard for bitul is letting go. For me, that was when I heard that, it was kind of nice. It felt right for me, like that was something I can work with. Letting go whatever we were holding or in that particular context, and allowing like a different way to be.
Right. Yeah, so certainly, you know, bitul is an experience and there's many shades to it. So there's not one definition. Okay. Miriam, would you like to speak to us?
No, I was just on a different subject, something that came to mind. The whole concept of analysis is an active word. It's not something that is like, I'm open to receive. And that's what I'm not quite sure about, because it's as if you are having to be in the process of assessing, and it's got something to do with like that place of connection, which is it's making decisions. It's not a passive thing. So you know, we were speaking about that place of like bittul, or where you just open to receive, but this doesn't sound like that.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. The Iyun is a very active process, and he uses the word
Higia.
higia, but with a mem in the beginning. And the mem, from what I
Meyagea, yeah.
Meyagea, which means the mem in the beginning. This is my lesson in Hebrew grammar, is mapil, which means active. It's higia, it's yigia is effort, but how do you say it? Migia?
Meyagea. Activate, yeah.
You activate your effort. It's exactly what you're saying, and that's the word that he uses here to describe Iyun.
Right. And I think, you know, how to put these two together, I think that's ultimately what Miriam's question is. How is that could be, on one hand, a passive state? It seems to be like, give me a few minutes, please. An active state of bittul. How bittul could be an active state, right? Pretty much like, bittul seems to be like me open to suggestions, me open to a new concept. I'm giving up, my understanding of things. And all of a sudden, like I'm requested to actively engage. And the question is, engage in what? And truly, if we understand both of them well enough, we will understand how both of them are actually happening simultaneously. Because you see, Iyun is not a meditation. Iyun is analysis. And as you said, analysis is an active state. An active state is, why would somebody be actively looking at letters that have no understanding? That's the proof of bittul. The bittul is that if I am so sure about everything, why would I want to learn? Yeah, meaning the fact that I'm opening a book, the fact that I am looking through the letters 100 times and I'm reading it over and over, okay, even though I might be yesterday, in an awe of my understanding, whatever that may be, but the fact that I'm opening the book again and I'm reviewing it 64th time, whatever time it is, that's my active announcement of my bittul. You understand? So bittul is not like, oh, I'm just letting go, whatever happens, happens. That's not bittul. Bittul is like, okay, I'm addicted to the process. I'm gonna go with it. Whatever I understood yesterday is not enough. I'm going with it together. Meaning it's everything. What's the proof of commitment? Well, how can we know? Like spouses, how do we know that they committed to each other? What's the indication of commitment? That they're ready to work through the crisis.
After day after day after day.
Exactly. They we continue. We are in this, through hardships, through, laughter, whatever that may be. We are connected. We are partners. We are going through it. Who is a true business partner with you? Only the one who shares the profits? No. The business partner is the one that, is there by your side, dark, light, cold, heat, whatever the story might be, right? So that's the state of bittul. So that active participation in the process is a state of bittul. That requires a tremendous amount of bittul. What's bittul? Bittul is that I don't know what's going on, but I'm committed to it. This is what I'm doing. It's not like, oh, well, the sikha is too hard for me. Bye. I'm going to take something easy. That's the opposite of bittul. Right? The bittul is like, I know what I need, and therefore I don't care about what you have to say. That's an ego.
Cody says, are there many steps in bittul?
I'm sure it is, right? Nothing is flat in Yiddishkeit. Other religions are much easier, I don't think they require so much self-reflection. It's very flat. This is what you do and you become a Muslim. This is what you do and you become a Christian. Case closed. That's very, very simple. Jews, we need to, it says about Hayom, Hashem wants us to, to redefine our relationship on a daily basis. I don't think anybody else requires that on top of all the mitzvahs that we do. It reminds me, we went to Moscow with my non-Jewish chavrusa, and happened to be that we had to stay there for Rosh Hashanah. I usually never spent my time, before, but it was like very needed. We were discussing, partnering with one sponsor there for our building, so on and so forth. So we went to Rosh Hashanah there. And where are we going to go? We're going to go to Shul. So the central Shul of Rabbi Lazar on Moscow for Rosh Hashanah. And we got the best spots. We came on time and everything else. And as usual for me on Rosh Hashanah, davening starts at 10. It ends at 2:30. I didn't understand much of my chavrusa. She was like, that's a lot of davening for 2 days. And then we came for Mincha and for Ma'ariv, and it was just like going on and on and on. And she's like, for them, it's very simple. You go to the temples, the Havdil, you light a candle, you say 5 minutes, whatever you say, and you're out. That's it. That's your service. She couldn't get her Kalim, just like they did not understand. She's like, that's a lot of words. You know, she was following, through the Machzor. And she's like, that's a lot. She's just like this. She's like, I was like, yeah, that's a lot, because through the words, we're creating the world. I said, do you think it's easy? The whole davening of Rosh Hashanah, all the Yidden, that's supposed to be a lot of work. But just the concept, it's the commitment that Yidden have to Hashem. It's not just like going, to temple and have the lighting a candle and saying to what. It's a lot. It's a lot of effort. So our dedication to show our bittul, it's multi-layered, and we always feel it's not enough.
Can I share something that happened in the group?
Sure.
Hi.
Sure.
So in response to Miriam's an analysis of the concept of analysis in Iyun, that it's active, that it's, I think it was Cody who described where she was holding in understanding these ideas as I'm drowning. Like am I right that it's Cody? It was Cody.
I didn't say that I was running.
That you're in water, like you're in this space of mystery.
Yeah.
Abstract.
I didn't say running.
You did say like in water, trying to swim.
I said swimming.
So you said
swimming.
Like
Swimming
okay,
in
sorry.
the dark.
So, yes. So from what Miriam said, what I'm getting is that that's the place of Iyun. That's exactly the place of Iyun, because when you're swimming, you're not going to relax and drown. You're swimming, you're wanting to find, you're searching, you want clarity. It's very, very active, but yet you're in the space of not knowing, which is bittul. So that's in a way describes the two ideas, right? Active, not knowing, active bittul. Does that make any sense?
You're quoting me. I'm going to quote you when you say, isn't that ayin? Being in a space of ayin, and I didn't relate at all to that. I wish Mila can elaborate, or is that a place of ayin?
It's definitely a place of bittul. So bittul is ayin. But we are coming from a yesh. Iyun generates from yesh. I'll tell you why, because bina of bina, that's where it generates. It's a very concrete space. You have letters, it's yesh. You have your yesh, which how you think you understand everything up until now, right? These are very concrete things. This is coming from yesh. Iyun begins in a very yeshudic place, meaning it's very tangible, because you have a text, you have your ego, and the journey begins. But yet, what ends up happening is through the analysis, through the Iyun process, we find ayin of the yesh, which is omek hamusag, which is this, the point of it. And then, that's, through analysis, we'll let go. Because you see, analysis are going to bring us to conflicts with how we understood things before. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Oh, is that what it means? Oh, that's very interesting. He's bringing this in here. These questions is that when we slowly letting go of our very confined way of thinking in a very structured way, because our physicality of our brain likes to put things in files and close them. It's easier that way. It's called hanacha. Hanacha means is conclusions. Yeah. If we open our minds, left brain mind, it has many, many files, conclusions about who that person is, who the other person is, what Chassidus is, what Chassidus is not. And about every concept, we have a conclusion, a definition. Okay, so when we do Iyun analysis, all of a sudden we will discover, oh, that's very interesting. I never knew that Chachma also means this. Oh, I never knew that this is also like that. So what we're doing is we're opening our old copy with old preconceived ideas, how we think things are, and discovering that things could be different. Okay, and that a very nice, and that's why it's called a cleansing process, because Bina is a place of cleansing. That's Bezrat Hashem, we're going to learn next week about what Iyun is. Iyun is birur, is I'm constantly working through and clearing my clutter, reorganizing things. All of a sudden, I'm discovering that this file should be here for easier access than the other one. And this toy should be there because it less balagan, and all these type of things that start coming up our ways. And that's why, the tzinor, the flow of godliness comes through the 13 attributes of mercy, and the nakeh is the bina, it's the cleaning process that we do. So this
But there's something that Sylvia also mentioned that I think we should touch on, if I understand you correctly. In this Iyun process, it seems to be where we encounter our not knowing, like you understand something and then you're completely lost, and it's sometimes hard, and I heard somebody saying, is that an ayin at place of like, I don't know what's going on here, or I don't understand. Is that, Sylvia, am I hearing you correctly?
I was describing Koti's description. For me, there's such excitement living at the edge of not knowing what's next. And I brought the example of, in my life, I'm doing a workshop with grade 6 kids, and I don't know what I'm going to be presenting next. It's all coming together in my working on this. I have a ratzon, what I want for them from a chush, that I have a proclivity towards compassion and kindness and people knowing what's true about themselves instead of bringing themselves down or doing bullying to themselves or to others, which is why I was brought into the situation. So the ratzon is, I want to present to them something meaningful, fun, creative, beautiful, to open up for them their hearts and compassion and truth-telling and connection and creativity. And that being the case, there's an I don't know what, and then I have a chachma of an idea, right? I sense something, and then I understanding Amakas Hadaas, because then it's coming down into something that I can actually see as a tangible activity, and then it keeps expanding, going back and forth, because I have a something now, there's a flash of something more, and it comes down and a flash of something more till there's a whole program for an hour class. And that's how I'm understanding these concepts, because I'm living it. And the excitement of not knowing and living at the edge, I don't know where I'm going with it. I know what my values are, what I'm wanting for them, and I'm knowing I'm wanting it to be creative and connecting and fun. And I don't know what's coming next, but I trust that something's coming next because I put it out there. There's an I don't know, and then there's a chachma, and there's the bina, and there's Amakas Hadaas, and then there's a project. There's an activity. Like I'm living it. It's real in my life. It's at the edge. It's very, very exciting. And the idea of filing things and closing the file, I don't believe there's ever a closing of a file. And I don't believe that there's one. I don't believe that there's one file. I believe you put it in this file for now, but maybe it fits together with that file, and maybe these two files can come together, and maybe because there's expansiveness and infinity, right? There's infinite
exactly. That's why the Iyun process is ever going. It's a continuous process. It's not like, I know that what we learned today, he makes it like, okay, now, I'm only getting you till Amakas Hadaas. Now you're on your own to some extent. But then there's always going to be a new piece where we're going to, bring in from the Iyun perspective again. So there's always going to be that it's nothing concluded, meaning the conclusion. That's why Avodas HaMeichin is so beautiful, is because it doesn't forces you to close. There is no, did we ever come to any conclusions so far? No. On the contrary, we'll leave conclusions aside because the conclusions are going to be a direct manifestations of our Iyun automatically. We don't need to force a conclusion. We don't need to force an outcome, force an understanding. Therefore, X, Y, and Z, right? Therefore, I'm connected to God. That's the ultimate conclusion of Chassidus. Therefore, Hashem is right here, right now, in front of me. That's the conclusions of, any mimer concludes with Ein Od Milvado, right? That's the ultimate conclusion that we come in. But we need to get there. We need to swim through. Like it's the sea of water, and the less we conclude, the better it is for us. For that reason that Tzivia just iterated, like, because it's a temporary place where I'm putting this file based on my understanding today. Tomorrow I might have a deep understanding and I could have a few more things there, and then this is going to be the right place to put that file. But if I cement it, this is a very human brain experience. Human brain likes to cement things and put in the right place because I have less anxiety. But if we're going to turn the excitement, meaning the anxiety of the unknown into an excitement of unknown, I'm excited to discover what's bringing next. That adds an element of surprise. And we want to be surprised because the life is boring if we're going to live it only that way. We lived it already. When we are new, when we are in our 19s, 20s, life is exciting because we haven't yet experienced it. But I think, once we reach our midpoint crisis of 40 years old, right, we want to discover new things. A new way of thinking, because that's where the renewal we're seeking for, because we know already more or less what's out there. Is that interesting?
I just want to ask something technical. When it comes to the Iyun, when you focusing with Iyun on and making yourself bittul to understand the Iyun, is the Iyun temporarily an Iyun? And then
yes.
It's okay. So then once you understand it, it becomes it becomes a concept. Sure. Okay.
It's like our ultimate Iyun is our emunah, right? Emunah is a makif thing. We believe in something, although we don't know it. But then through learning, the things that we took on emunah level becomes our yesh. And then there's a new level of emunah emerges. And then there's yet a new Iyun emerges. And we constantly bringing it into our domain, into yesh. And that's why it's very interesting. But Chassidus Chabad, and I'll share with you that piece of Maimer where the Rebbe says it specifically has to come into understanding of a person. Emunah is not enough. That's why Chabad specifically encourages everybody to study and bring Chassidus into their domain. Understand. Yes, bring it into your yesh. Because a person needs to be in a state of yesh. We cannot be in a state of ayin. That's not Yiddishkeit. We're not those, Himalayan monks that all my life, I'm not going to eat, I'm not going to live, I'm just going to meditate into the state of ayin and then just die out of hunger. Yeah, that's like the highest level of service, is that when they transcend themselves, right? That's why, that was the whole hype about transcendental meditations and all that stuff. Anybody who was familiar with this, type of things. Anyway, but the Rebbe went really much against it because that's not the ultimate thing. The ultimate thing is not to dissolve into godliness. The ultimate thing is to dissolve into godliness, to bring out a new yesh. To be able to redefine yourself. That's what the true ultimate thing. And this is what happens in this physical world. It's not that we need to go somewhere and remain there. And that was the problem of Nadam and Avihu. If we learn, through the Sikhs about, it's like there was Ratzo B'lo Shov, right? The point is not just to die and, go back into godliness, the point is, to be able to dissolve and come out a new entity. A new you, a new version of you. That's the ultimate point. and to be able to do that back and forth. And why we need to do that? It's much easier just to go up and never return, right? And Rabbi Akiva, it says, Nichnas b'shalom, yatsa b'shalom, right? This is one of the 4 people who entered Pardes. He was the one who was able to actually grow back. Why? Because that's the ultimate ratzon of Hashem. A true bittul is when we do what Hashem wants us to do. And Hashem, for some reason, has some kind of a high level of degree of entertainment and pleasure in having us as entities with our own will, with our own desires, with our own oneg. And he wants that relationship because he can't have a relationship with himself. It's boring for him, apparently.
So Mila, we need to end.
Yes.
Sylvia was asking, how do we balance this abstract study with time-based reality? My answer to that is that we need to end the class over time. But it's, you know, it's a question that everybody has to answer for themselves. Like the things that we think are really, really important, we find that, you know, I can't speak for everybody, you know, it's everybody has their schedule, but very often it's like you'll find when you involved in a project, if you put it into your brain, you can be thinking about it all the time. So it doesn't have to be, I mean, there's a certain amount of time that you have to spend with the page, but if you do the 5 minutes before davening, you know, you review like one paragraph, a summary, then you have that for the rest of the day, and it's something you can think about. So there are ways to do these things.
Even more than that it builds up like vitamins sometimes, or certain elements that we might take in, we might not see the benefit immediately, but it's only after weeks of building and repeating it over and over again does it become like a total concept where we're really seeing it in many aspects of life. It's the building one on top of each other. That's netzach. Netzach is every day, doing it every day. I'm talking about it. I wish I was like practically there, like really doing it the way you said every day before davening. But the concept of netzach is in many aspects of life, of repeating every day, every day.
Right. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. It's really late, so we're going to sign off, and Bezrat Hashem will continue next week. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you. Bye-bye.